a dream? Is it real? Is it a dream? I want to move my world. Is it real?
Hello, my name is Alani, and I'm currently a college student in New York City. And I would define the practice of taking up space as being intentional with your identities and your feelings and not trying to hide any aspect of yourself. Try not to cover any aspect of yourself in spaces where you feel safe. I feel like I'm not able to take up space in every situation in a way that is healthy for me. I think one of the biggest things for assimilating sometimes is that there's just inherently not enough space for my Asianness and my blackness and my womanness to exist altogether, which is awful. It's because we live in society, but I take up space most meaningfully when I'm in a space where people are able to be themselves slash to embrace all of their identities. I just feel as though those spaces don't exist so much, and you have to seek them, which is a little difficult, but when I was able to find those spaces for myself, I was able to grow a lot and do a lot of like self-discovery. I think, especially coming to college, I was able to find people and spaces where I could really like embrace my identities and not just pick one in certain situations or be forced to pick one in certain situations. I think like growing up where I grew up, which was a very, very like racially, socioeconomically diverse place, was like very, very, I'm so thankful for that. But of course, I never really encountered or grew up with Black and Asian mixed individuals. As a child in my growing up, I think me and my sister were the only ones, and so I sort of didn't know how to take up space in a very productive way, or how did I fit in. And I, of course, like when you're younger, you always worry about fitting in. I think in spaces where people want to embrace difference, want to celebrate intersectionality within ourselves and like within the people you're with in the space, I think I've had the most like success and the most like I get energy when I'm in those spaces. And so it took college for that to happen, and just meeting people who had my identities or slash people who are just willing and wanting to embrace and really live out our intersections and not like put one of our identities on the back burner. And when I'm with those groups, I feel really good. On campus right now, I'm with a group of like Asian American identifying students who want to get more politically involved and be more critical about like our roles in anti-Blackness and trying to like figure out how to mobilize more efficiently. And I think in those spaces, like one of the tenets of that space being created, which was kind of recent, was that this space would be built on self-care, and then we wanted to like envision a community where people cared for each other and also cared for themselves like as an utmost priority. And I think for me that was very new, having a space that was intentionally built upon that, and meeting people where they're at, and also understanding that people's like lives change and life is so complicated. From the ground up, we're taught to like work so much, and like success is defined in so many small categories, and I think so many people neglect their own self-care and just want to assimilate into that successful character. Successful being defined as working a job that gets you a lot of money and gets you a lot of like pleasures in life and a lot of like comfort, like excessive comfort. And without that, people are viewed as not being successful or less successful. And the academy, finding a job, like so much of that has been built upon that, and like building yourself up for that. And so I realized that those spaces and surrounding myself with people who realize that that is not what success in life is about, and people who also share the idea that really wanting to resist and fight back against assimilation in a way that like works for them. I think that's the biggest thing. I think one of the most important thing about the spaces and people I interact with mostly is that people intentionally want to meet others where they're at. So such like, for example, just enforcing just ideology on someone who has no knowledge about ideology, or just or all this like just trying to force people into thinking certain ways, and I don't believe in that kind of stuff. And so I think having people around me with that mindset has helped a lot. I think talking about self-care, honestly, in whatever situation I'm in, I think I really think about me taking up space I think about that so much because I take very seriously me taking responsibility for how I look. That's like a main thing. So this is just space in general. And that, yes, I am Black and Asian, but people don't think that. My actions reflect on a group of people that I'm not a part of, slash people think I am. It's just so confusing. But I think my self-care I try to live out in private and in public. So I don't neglect my emotions, how I'm feeling. If I need to take a break in public, like for me, I can't. People might question where I come from, who I am, what gives me any right to say anything. And I think just understanding there are times to move up and move back, and also that everyone is different, and in every encounter I'll have in the world, I'm meeting people at different stages in their growth, and I take that into account in like almost every interaction and space I take up in. And so my inner dialogue goes along like, you are amazing, you have troubles, you have struggles, and it is okay. Just don't get stagnant, keep growing, be more empathetic, be open, and you'll be fine. That's usually how it goes. And usually in times of in public or when I need to step out, I will step out. If I want to speak up, I'll speak up. I'm not too afraid about speaking out about how I feel, but I also think I'm a little bit more on the quieter side. So, and it takes me a lot of time to like reflect on things before I want to speak out. So initially I might be more quiet, but as things go on, I tend to speak out. That's taking into account the space I'm in as well. So moving up and moving back is what I keep in my mind a lot. And I got some skill shares from a group in New York City. I forgot the group is this very, very great collective of like women and women identifying individuals, like individuals of color in the city, and they had this self-care water kind of ritual that you can do in the shower. Take into account like as the water is running on you, like think about if you've had a very hard day, like your troubles just rolling off your skin like the water, and all of the weight is rolling off your skin, like you're cleansing yourself with the water. Taking that time, if our lives are so busy, and sometimes life is so busy that everything seems like it's going so fast. Just being very intentional about that time instead of just being like, oh, it's just another routine, let's get done. But as a way of self-care, I tend to like close my eyes, meditate a little bit, and just any stresses, any worries I have, just let it roll off you. And being able to like hear the shower and like feel the water running off you and the warmth of it, I think is like very healing. I think that I'm still in my journey of figuring out how I take up space. Of course, in spaces where there's not many people of color, there's not many women or femmes, it's hard for me to take up space. In all white spaces, it's hard for me to speak up, and unless something really like disastrous is happening.